Okay, guys, can I have your attention? So I'm gonna go ahead and get started now. All right. So everybody has this. Looks like everybody has this file open up. Good. And by the way, I am recording it. So what I want to do here to start with is we'll start by moving this flower right here, and it's kind of the easiest one to move. You may not think it is in terms of selecting it and then being able to move this flower, because as you can see, we have multiple multiple edges in here. It's not as simple as a rectangle there where you can just use your selection tool, and I'll show you what selection tools we're going to be using. By clicking and dragging that, it's not going to be that easy in that sense. Okay, so we'll start selecting that, but before that, I want to make you guys aware of your workspace area as usual. So if you go to a window, okay, you'll notice on the top it says Workspace, right? And again, there's different type of settings that you can select on there. So if you select the default one, it'll set it up, again with the panels on the right side and your toolbar on the left.
Which one's the default?
Well, the default is Essentials, correct? Yeah, that's usually the default. If you're doing a lot of 3D, then you could do and bring that up, or design. You'll notice it brings up what it does. It brings up those palettes that you would normally use more for those particular type of projects, like we've seen in other type of programs. And again, you also have reset essentials or reset design or whatever it is that if you want to reset those things. And sometimes, especially with Photoshop, which gets used a lot, it's a good idea to do that. The other thing we want to do, and this is also important with Photoshop because it does get used a lot, is to reset all your tools. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor up in the option. This is the option bar for Photoshop on the top right here. Okay. And then so what I'm going to do is hold on a second. I'm going to hide these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor on the top in whichever tool that it doesn't matter whichever tool you have. Currently you have selected right now. Currently, for instance, is my brush tool. So I'm going to put my cursor where you see that little brush on the top. Again, it just happens to be the brush tool selected. I'm going to control click or right mouse click and then reset all tools, since we're just starting off right now. So select reset all tools. And then this dialog box comes up. Reset all tools, default setting, click OK. This thing sounds a little louder than usual for some reason. Okay.
You probably started working.
I guess. Yeah, that could be. So anyway, so we've reset the tools, and you have your toolbars. The tools that we're going to be working with, as you can see over here, is going to be the Move tool. You'll see that in a few minutes. We'll be using the Move tool. We're going to be using the rectangle and the ellipse tool. So those two tools, and then we'll also be using the lasso, polygon, and magnetic lasso tool. So all those tools we're going to be using. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and do, like I said, we're going to go ahead and select that flower and move it. So to start with, what we'll do is we'll use a rectangle tool. Okay. So go to your, the rectangle tool is right below. If it's set up a single column, it's right below your pointer tool. So it's your rectangle marquee tool. And then we're going to click and drag.
Is that the dotted one?
Yeah, it's the little dotted rectangle.
When I click in the little corner of those boxes, I'm not getting any response.
Okay. Just hold. Yeah, just hold it down. Hold it. Left mouse. Left mouse. Click it and hold it down. And then you're going to click and drag to to select the flower. Now, if I were to use, now I'm going to go back to my move tool. I'm going to move my tools right here so you guys can see it. If I go back to my move tool, which is that triangle looking tool on the top, so I'm going to select that. Then if I click and drag, it moves it, but notice it moves, you know, it does move it, but it moves the whole flower with that white background. Right? So it cut the white background on there. So that's not what I want to do then. So what I'm going to do is because the other thing we could have done is, let me just show you real quick. I'm going to deselect, just you guys leave it this way. The other thing that normally people would like to try to do is use the lasso tool and then try to, you know, just go around the corners here and there and, you know, do this kind of thing, right? I'm just going to do it real fast. And then try to select the whole thing, which can work, but, you know, it takes a long time to do that. I mean, you know, I did it real fast. But, you know, if you were really trying to do it, you would do little small selections as you go along, and it would just take too long. So anyway, so using this tool, just by putting a rectangle around it, we're going to use another tool to be able to select, to sort of delete that part of the selection right there, the white space on there. Okay? Everybody has that? Alrighty. Okay, so now what I want to do is use my magic wand tool. Okay? Where did we go? Where did my magic wand tool go?
It's under the quick selection tool.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, sorry. So there's my magic wand tool, which is under the quick selection tool. And it's usually, in this case, under the lasso tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the option key. And the reason I'm going to hold down the option key is I want to deselect in terms of the white space that's around this flower. You see? Usually when you hold down the shift key, you add more to the selection. When you hold down the option key, you take away from the selection. So in this case, by using the magic wand tool, I'm going to take away the white selection. And with the magic wand tool, the way it works is basically when you select something that's approximately all the same color, then what happens is that it'll select those pixels, so mostly white pixels in this case, and it won't have any problem selecting it. So in that case, it does a great job, the magic wand tool. What it gets into trouble is that you'll see in a few minutes when we use the when we try to select the 5, that if it's different shades of certain colors, it won't necessarily be able to select everything on there. So anyway, using the option key, I'm going to click inside the square selection. And you'll notice now I didn't have to go through that whole process of, you know, trying to use, like, for instance, the lasso tool to try to select the flower. So now I'll just go to my move tool, go back up and select your move tool. Now we can click and drag. Let's see where it's supposed to be placed. Okay. And we'll click and drag it and place it down at the bottom over here. And approximately that's where the finished one is. Now some of you guys, depending on the color of the background you have, for instance, let me show you this also, in case you're, let me see if anybody's got that. Everybody's good, actually.
Wait, so we select the magic wand tool and we click the background?
Yeah, so watch this real quick. So remember, you drew the rectangle marquee, right? Then using the magic wand tool, select that and put it inside the square. And then hold down the option key. And then you should see the magic wand tool with a little minus sign on it. You see what I'm saying? Can you see it from here, from back there? The little minus sign next to it?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you click on that white space area and it deselects the white space. And again, the reason this works, partly because we have a solid background color, in this case white. If it was black or brown, it would work with no problem also, as long as it's a solid background color. If it's gradients of that, then that's when the Magic Wand tool has a little problem. And also, there's enough of a contrast between the solid white and the flower itself. It's shades of white, as you can see. There's some gray in there a little bit, but it's enough that it provides enough of a contrast that we can do that procedure. Okay. So once you move it, get into the habit of once you select something, get into the habit of going to select and deselect.
How do you get it to stop blinking on the outside?
Yeah, so select, deselect.
I don't know what you mean.
Go into the menu, on the top of the menu, where it says select, and then select deselect, or Command D. The shortcut is Command D. And by the way, it's important that you do the Command D, not only so you stop the little blinking thingy, but this happens sometimes. For instance, watch. I'll do something real quick here. Yep, that didn't work. Okay. Watch over here real quick. I selected an area that you can hardly see. It's like maybe 2-3 pixels of selection. Can you guys see that? Anyway, so for instance, if I were to use, if I don't deselect, and you don't notice that I've selected that little speck right there, if I wanted to paint the flower, for instance, or if I wanted to paint this background using my brush tool, okay, notice I can't do that. And I'm trying to paint it. I'm trying to select the flower. I can't do it. So sometimes what happens is when you have a little speck selected. Excuse me. Oh shoot! I gotta turn this thing off. When you have something. Whoa! Come down. What was that about? Anyway, when you're trying to paint or something like that, and if you can't do it, then do a Command D type thing, because sometimes you don't realize it, but you've selected like 1 or 2 pixels. And because of making that 1 or 2 pixel selection, it doesn't allow you to be able to select anything within or outside of that selection. So here's, for instance, watch this real quick. So I'm going to purposely do a quick little selection here. So notice if I do a selection here, and I go to my brush tool, so I can paint within this selection, but notice I can't paint outside of the selection. You see? And if I deselect, I have this square thing right there. Obviously, I don't want that. But the point is that if you make that little, like 1 or 2 pixel selection, you're not going to notice it. And then you're trying to paint or you're trying to move, and nothing's happening. Try that. Do the Command D. Sometimes you accidentally select like a little speck or something. Didn't even realize that you did that. Okay. All right. So now let's zoom in on the number 5 here. And to zoom in, we're going to use the shortcut that we've used a lot before, which is the spacebar Command key. And if you notice, all I have to do is do spacebar command key and click once or twice within that area.
Spacebar command?
Yeah, so that's on the.
We used to do it command minus and command plus.
Well, that too. That'll work too. But that the command, actually I did show you guys how to use the spacebar command with Illustrator, because then I can click and drag to where I want to zoom in. But here you're going to do just, see, notice right here, there's my cursor over the 5. So if I do spacebar command key and then I click, and it just, or a couple times, whatever, then I just zoom in on the 5. Or, you know, whatever area that you're looking to zoom in. Okay, so again, I want to zoom in on the 5 here, and then also I want to select it. This time I'm going to use the magic wand tool instead of that other technique we just used. All right, we could try to use that one, but it won't necessarily work, because the reason it wouldn't work is because all the different shades of white in the background. So it would just be more work. But using the magic wand tool, I can try select the 5. If I just click, say on the upper left corner over here, if I click on the 5, notice what it does. It only selects part of that 5. Right? It's not selecting all of the 5. So a couple of ways that we could do this. I could hold on the shift key, and notice when I hold on the shift key, it becomes the magic wand with a plus. And I can click and it selects a little bit more of the 5. Then I click a little bit more and a little bit more, and so on and so on. And then, you know, I could probably finish it up this way, but you still notice there's still little specks here and there that are blinking. That means they haven't been selected. Right? So what we're going to do, instead of doing it that way, so keep in mind that you can add to your selection by holding on the shift key and the magic wand. You're adding more to that selection.
When you want to undo, what do you do?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. Now, with Photoshop, because it's so intensive, it hogs up so much RAM memory, you only have about 20 states that you can undo. Okay, if you remember back when we were using Illustrator, we had about 100 state, or also when we were using Flash, we had 100 state. You know, about up to 100 state that we can undo. We can undo. You know, I would do like Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. You know, a bunch of times, right?
Right.
But here we can't. So it only gives you up to 20 state. The shortcut to undo is the same thing, Command Z, but it only undoes it one time. Just doing Command Z. To do it more than one time, about 20 times, you have to do Command Option Z.
Do you hold them both down?
All 3 of them. So Command Option, well, yeah, Command Option and Z, Z, Z. You hit a few times and it'll undo it about 20 times. Look over here too. You'll notice on yours, and on mine too, it looks like this. There's a little box, and then the arrow going, pointing back up. That's your history palette. So if I click that, you'll notice it tells you the history of what I've been doing.
Where'd you find that box?
Right here. It has like little squares, little rectangles with an arrow pointing back up. Or you can go to Window History. On the menu, Window History, and that'll bring up, again, your history palette. So usually, this is usually the best way to just kind of undo what you're doing. You know, go all the way back up to your file the way it originally was, or just go all back up a few times. And also, by the way, this is a great way to find out if you're having problems with something, like you did something, you don't know how you did it, or you can't go and do the next step. You'll usually find out that maybe you've made a selection. So it keeps track of what you're doing for 20 states. Then after a while, it'll start back up again. But keep in mind that it won't necessarily start back up to, you don't want to click this right here, because when you click this, it goes back to the how the file was originally was. There are ways that we can get around that to create different type of snapshots, they're called. And there's other things that we could do. We can use a history brush and so on and so on. There's a bunch of other things that we can use, so we don't have to go all the way back up to the original file. But again, keep in mind that it'll keep track up to 20 times on there for you. Okay, so now going back to my magic wand tool. So in order that I can select easier in terms of just maybe clicking once or 2, 3 times, when I notice that there's this blue, that there's different shades of blue, what I may want to do is increase the tolerance level using my magic. So in my magic wand tool, I'm going to again make sure I have that selected. Then I'm going to look up in the top on the option bar up here. You'll notice up there that right up here where it says tolerance, it says 32 on there. So I'm going to change that from 32 to, I'm going to double it. So let's about double it. A little more than double, 70. I'm going to change it to 70. So I'm going to click on that.
What does the changing to 70 mean?
Well, it means we're doubling the tolerance level of the pixels that it will be able to select. So as you saw when it was at 32 and I clicked right here in this area, what it does basically, Magic Wand, is it takes a sample of wherever you click, and then it figures out the algorithm in terms of like, oh, okay, this is a white pixel and it wants me to select other white pixels.
How come we're not taking the background out of this?
You'll see what we're going to do. So what I'm doing here is, again, since by clicking here, it takes a sample of all these blue pixels, and then it figures out, okay, there's more blue pixels that look like this. I'll select those. By increasing the tolerance, we're saying take a sample of these blue pixels, but also include, increase the amount of type of pixels that are in that shade of blue to be able to be selected also. So now that I'll click here, you'll note now that I've increased the tolerance level, when I click right there, notice it includes a little bit more of the selection. Before it only included up to this point. But now it included this, included more of this. So now I can hold on the shift key and I should be able to click here and it'll realize, okay, I want to include more of these shades of blue. So anywhere that there's this shade of blue, like maybe here, here, and even here, it'll select those two. So hold on the shift key and then click. And notice it pretty much selected almost everything. Actually it did, I think. So with 2 clicks, by changing the tolerance level, I was able to select that whole 5.
When I hold down the shift key, I get a hand.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I have a magic wand, but then when I hold down the shift key, I get a hand. So
Okay. Let me look at your computer real quick. All right. So okay. So hold on the shift key. Okay. Put your cursor in, but go to the go up a little more. Right. Yeah. Right there.
It still doesn't have.
it still does a hand.
Let's see. Okay. Deselect. So go to File. I'm sorry. Go to Select. Deselect. There you go. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So go ahead and click on there. Hold on Shift key. Move your cursor up. Why is it a hand? Okay, I'm gonna take over real quick. Let's see.
Does anybody Anybody else getting a hand?
Same here, Alfonso.
Oh, okay. I'll look at yours too. I don't know why you're getting that. Well, mine, when I did it, I took over and didn't do that problem. I don't know what you were doing. Okay, well, you saw that it worked, right?
Yeah,
So-
but, oh, wait a minute, look at, right in the shadow of where the 5 down here. See how it's not this little dark area?
Hold on, shift key and click again.
I get a hand again.
I'm seeing a 1.
Well, there's a 1, and then I hold down the shift
Yeah,
key.
hold on the shift key and then left mouse click.
I am.
All right, let me try it. I'm gonna take over again.
When you're holding down the space
Oh, yeah. That's why.
Okay,
Sorry.
retarded. Oh my
Sorry,
God.
Drew. That was it.
Thanks, Thor.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay,
Talking about retarded.
I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna.
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny. Yeah, we got it. Thanks.
Okay. All right, guys, can I have your attention back? Thank you. All right. So now what I want to do is be able to move the 5. Right now, I zoomed in, and we can zoom out by just doing Command 0, which is the fastest way. So my suggestion is just do Command 0. You could zoom out by holding the spacebar Command key and the Option key, and by click, click, click a few times. You can zoom out that way. And there's all these different ways. Command minus, zoom out, or Command 0, boom, and you zoom out to fit the view on your computer. So I have the 5 selected at the bottom. So you were asking why not delete the background? Well, because I wanted to show you this different way, which is to select just the object itself. In this case, we're able to select the 5. Now I can go to my Move tool. You move your cursor, select the Move tool on the top, or hit the letter V. V is for the shortcut key for the Move tool. And then put your cursor inside the selection, and you'll notice that when I do that, the selection tool becomes, the selection tool and a little scissor, meaning we're going to click and drag and move that 5. See, where do they put that 5 up there? Okay. So I'll click and drag that 5, put it in position, and then I'll deselect it by going to Select, Deselect, or Command D.
Do you have to put your selection tool or your move tool on the 5
Inside the selection.
inside the selection before you hit V? Or does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. Again, you're just switching. Once you have selected, and I'm switching over to the tool that I want, it shouldn't matter. So in this case, because you can click on it, just click on the selection tool or use the shortcut. Either way, it'll make that whatever current tool you have into the selection tool. Then you put your cursor inside and click and drag it. Remember, if you want to zoom out, just do Command 0, and it'll make it easier for you to be able to see your whole work area.
And I haven't been able to make mine work.
Okay, let me look at yours real quick. Oh, I see why. You accidentally made a text layer.
That's probably why.
Yeah, yeah, I like an
So
iron
just
box.
do back down then?
No, I'll just delete that.
Should be space bar, they're all the same.
So yeah, there you go. I'll give it back to you now so you can work on it. Okay. Okay, so yeah, keep in mind that if you Photoshop is dependent a lot on layers. We're not going to deal with layers so much right now. In a few minutes we will. We'll talk about using layers and so on because you'll need to do that for the assignment.
Well, because if you have a flower and you have a stem, the flower is one color variation, and then the stem is another completely different color.
Right, and it'll be another maybe completely different image, and then you'll have multiple layers, and then you'll see when we work on that, or when we talk about layering, that you'll need to do that. For now, we're just focusing on the selection part of it.
Oh, this one? Yeah.
Okay. So now let's select the oval, that black oval there. Now we could go through some of the other process, delete the background, or just do a selection around it, you know, that type of thing. But we're going to do a different approach here. We're going to use the going back to the rectangular marquee tool. Okay. So going back to the rectangular marquee, I'm going to select the elliptical marquee tool. Okay. So I'm selecting the elliptical marquee tool, and then hold it down. Make sure you got, you know, if you were in the rectangle tool or whatever, that you, again, you're back to the elliptical marquee tool. Now, when I click and drag, so just watch real quick. When I click and drag, you know, as you notice, depending on how I click and drag, I'll get the different shapes of an ellipse, right? So perfect circle, I can hold, if I hold down the shift key, I get a perfect circle if I click and drag. Depending on how I click and drag, I'll get that type of shape, an oval shape of some sort. Okay, so what I'm going to do to select this, I'm going to click and drag, and as I'm clicking and dragging, I'm just going to do it over here on the outside, not yet focus on there. I'm going to hold down the space bar. By holding down the space bar, now watch real quick. Notice I can move this oval around, this oval selection, right? By holding on the space bar, so it doesn't change shape, and I can reposition it as I'm holding down the space bar so it doesn't change shape. As soon as I let go of the space bar, and I'm holding down the left mouse key also, as soon as I let go of the space bar, then I can start reshaping it again. So that's where I can change the shape, you know, make it longer, wider, whatever I need to do. Then I'll hold on the space bar and reposition it again. So I'm going to keep doing that until I got the shape that I want for the oval. Okay. All right. So I'm going to zoom in now on the oval. It's easier, obviously, to work with if you zoom in than if you keep it zoomed out. And again, different ways to zoom in: space bar, command key, commands plus a few times. Anyway, so zoom in on the oval. All right, now again, make sure that you have the elliptical tool selected, and I'm going to actually start. I'm going to start like at the corner of it to start dragging. I'm going to start at the top left corner. I'm going to click and drag, and then I'm going to hold down the space bar and click and drag until I get the, you know, notice, see how I'm moving it around. And you may have to deselect a few times and then reselect again, so until you get it, you know, until you get the hang of it. But repositioning it by holding down the space bar is going to be key in terms of selecting the oval. And you may have to start again. So just if it's screwed up so much, just Command D, deselect, start again.
You're just trying to outline it? Is that what
Well, you see, yeah, I'm getting it so that it, you know, it's selecting the oval. Hmm? Okay, let me look. Hold on.
so small?
You want to look at the high points and the left points and try to plot out the point where they would be.
Yeah, that looks good.
Well, I know, but my problem is not, I could keep getting banned from that.
There you go. Now hold on the spacebar and bring it down. See how it's over selecting on top?
Uh-huh.
So hold on the spacebar, yeah, bring it down, and then go, and then let go of the spacebar, and then bring your cursor up. So you're recreating that shape.
Bring my what out?
Yeah, you got to keep holding the spacebar.
So you can't, once you have a shape, you can't.
Yeah, you can, but we're not gonna go there yet. But yeah, you can, once you create a selection shape, you can actually change the shape, you know, in terms of that selection. But I want you to practice doing that right now.
I'm holding it down. It's not, I have to make it wider. How do you make it wider? See, I have the space there.
Okay. All right. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing before. Once you've selected, use your move tool. Put your cursor inside the oval. Click and drag it. Put it about the middle.
You're saying just use B, right?
Huh?
Just use B.
Yes. V is the quickest way.
So do you need to move the 5 for some reason?
You won't be able to. Not the way we just did this.
No.
That's not, don't worry about it. We're just practicing. I'm going to show you a different way. In a few minutes, I'll show you how you can get around that particular problem. We're not worrying too much of the composition right now. We're just more, learning and practicing. Okay, so looks like everybody's got that. So let's just deselect. And then, so now, the other thing I want to, well, since let's stay with the ellipse tool, so those elliptical tool. Let's go back to the elliptical tool, and then we're going to select the globe. So I'm going to zoom in on that globe. Now, you saw how I clicked and dragged, right, to get that oval shape. If I want a perfect circle, I'm going to hold on the Shift key. And again, we could do the same procedure where we're holding on, I'm holding down the shift key and I'm clicking and dragging, I get this perfect circle, hold on the space bar, and then reposition the circles until I get, you know, the nice circle that I want. That's one way we could do this too. So notice, you know, I can get that nice circle and select the whole globe and all that. The other way too is I could start like where I think is the middle. I can hold on the Option key and then click and drag. Hold on the Shift key, click and drag, and notice it creates a circle from the center. And then I can hold on the space bar and move it around. So different ways that we can do that in terms of creating that perfect.
Hold down the Option key.
The Option key. We did this also in Illustrator, where we created things from the center out, like the star and so on. So now we're creating the selection from the center out. Well, you hold on the Option key, and then you click and drag. Now remember, you're using the elliptical selection tool there. No, yeah, the space. What? The space? What do you mean space?
So if you need to resize this,
yeah, you can
and
do
you're
that.
holding down the Option key, does it work the same way?
If you're holding on the, ask the question again.
Well, it doesn't work. If you're holding down, if you're holding down the Option key and you have your left mouse click and you want it needs to get smaller.
Yeah, I think. Let me see.
No, when I let it go, it makes a smaller circle.
So if I'm holding on the Option key, see I'm clicking that. Well, as long as I keep holding down the left mouse key, notice I can expand it and contract. Is that what you're talking about?
No, you know how we in the last one we moved with the space bar and you can move it all around. If you're holding the Option key and making your little circle and trying to move it with the space bar, it already won't move the same thing.
Actually, yeah, I was able to see how I'm doing it. See, look. So I'm right now. I can do like I'm doing
you
one,
have to
two.
do it exactly the same.
Yeah.
You can't let go of anything.
Yeah, you can't let go of anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So now, the other thing we're going to learn here is that we're going to make duplicates of this globe. Right. So I'm going to do Command minus or Command 0 once I have the globe selected. And I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to move the globe on the top right here. But before I do that, while I still have it selected, if you notice on this version, there's 3 copies of this, and then also you'll notice that they're a different color. Basically, all they did was inverse the colors. So while I select it, I'm just going to click select. Oh, no.
I think it might undo.
You can get yours what?
I don't know that my Option key doesn't work. So.
Got it? All right, let me look at it real quick.
I don't know how to.
There you. All right, okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to how do you make it bigger? All it's doing is just like moving it around.
Well, that's good right now. That's good. Just use your move tool, and then move the globe up to the top.
Up to the top.
Yeah.
Of what?
Of the image. We're moving it now. You're moving it now. Like we've been moving everything else. Command 0. Okay, so once you have it on the top, we're going to invert the color. We're going to go image adjustment, invert, and whatever's black became white, and so on. It doesn't do a great job of it, but it does a decent job of it. So again, you're going to go to image, adjustment, invert. Now we'll make a duplicate of this, and if you remember, we've done this before. How am I going to make a duplicate by clicking and dragging this? What key am I going to hold down? Which one? Well, Alt or Option. Yeah, it's Alt key in the PC, Option in the Mac. So yeah, you're going to put your cursor inside your selection. You're going to hold down the Option key or the Alt key on the PC.
I already deselected. You didn't say like not to deselect. So.
Say it again.
I had already deselected my.
Oh, well, just go back up on your history palette. Go back up one.
I've been trying.
No, on your history palette, right there. Right, yeah, go back. Go select move. There you go. So now I'm going to make a duplicate of what I just did by holding down the Alt key or Option key, clicking and dragging, and then. But now I'm going to resize it. If you notice, on my on the finished one, each globe got a little larger, right? So to do that, I'm going to use the free transform tool. I'm going to use the free transform tool for Photoshop. So I'm going to go to Edit, and notice it says Edit Free Transform. So Edit Free Transform. And when I do that, I get the bounding boxes around it, right? The usual little bounding boxes that you've seen in our transform tools. And what you're going to do is the usual thing. We're going to grab on the bounding box, click and drag. Now to keep it uniform in terms of the size, I'm just going to make sure that I hold on the Shift key and I put my cursor in one of the corners. So I'm going to hold on the Shift key. I'm going to click and drag, make it a little bit bigger.
Hold down the Alt key.
Shift key. Oh, sorry. Where are you at?
Answering his question.
Oh, I see.
Okay, so.
Huh? Holding on the Alt key. And then click and drag. But you have to have it selected. It needs to be selected.
Is that just a selection?
I don't know. Let me look at your computer. So just to answer yours, you have to have it selected. Click and drag, and then once. Let me see if it's selected. Give me a second here. Yeah, okay, selected. So now use your move tool. Select the move tool. That's not the move tool. Up on the top. No. This arrow right here. This one. No, I'm talking to him.
Then it undid the box.
No, I was talking to him.
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay, so
The freeze transform. Once I do that,
Yeah.
I get the square box.
right. So then you're going to, as usual, you're going to put your cursor in the corner and click and drag, like we've done before.
To keep it the same, you press Shift.
You hold on the Shift key, yeah, to keep it proportionate.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Hold down the Shift key at the same time you drag it.
Correct. So then after you've made it to what size you want to, you hit return, and then we're going to make another duplicate by holding on the Option key, clicking and dragging. Then we're going to go back again, edit, free transform, and then making it a little bigger. Remember, guys, use your knowledge that you've learned from the other tools. Some of these same tools are pretty much the same way that we used it in Flash, in Illustrator, like the free transform tool, the selection tool. You'll notice later on when we use some of the other tools, they're pretty much the same thing. So think back in terms of like use your experience from what you've known before to try to do some of these things. Okay, once you've once you've resized it, then hit return or enter on a PC. And then you have your 3 globes, and then we can deselect at that point. Okay, so now we're going to use our next tool. The next thing we want to select is the that padlock down at the bottom. So I'm going to zoom in like before. Remember, I can zoom in by holding down the space bar and the command key. And this time, I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. Now, we've used the elliptical, we used the rectangular, we used the magic wand. This time, I'm going to use the magnetic lasso tool. To do this, the way the magnetic lasso tool, just watch real quick. If you notice that the lasso tool, I have to constantly hold down to be able to select this. I have to constantly click and drag. I have to hold down the left mouse key, and then I have to have a really good steady hand and be able to, and so on. Be able to stay right within the borders and all that kind of stuff. Let's say I can't do that, like in this example. Then obviously that's not going to work. But the other way I can do this is using the magnetic lasso tool. The way this works is that if I click on the border of an image, and then, the border is defined by 2 contrasting type of pixels. Right? This is all actually pixels, as you can see as I zoom in, right? Well, notice you have these black pixels compared to these, gray, white pixels. So the magnetic lasso tool will work fine when you have these contrasting pixels. And then when I click on, for instance, at the beginning of one of those pixels, then I click, all I have to do is, what's nice about this, all I have to do is click once, and then start dragging, around the border, and you'll have these little anchor points. They will anchor all throughout the image there. But sometimes the problem is that because of the tolerance level or the contrast level is not set up correctly, it will it will drop anchor points where you don't want it to. And if it does, all you have to do is press delete and then back up. Let me just show you. Watch. Don't do anything. Just watch. So if I click and drag, notice no big deal setting some anchor points right where I want it to. But say that I'm going to purposely do this. Say that sets an anchor point, more close to the inside of there because maybe I had more of those dark pixels. So, and notice I kept going. I go, oh, it's screwed up over there. Well, what I could do is start going back and then hit delete. And notice it deletes that one anchor point. Then I'll hit delete again, go back to the spot, hit delete, and then I can maybe at this point I may want to set my anchor points by just clicking down once with my left mouse key. And notice I'm not holding down the left mouse key. I'm just clicking and dragging. Oh, I'm not clicking and dragging. I'm sorry. I'm just dragging.
But it's not creating the perfect shape.
Well, you'll see it does a good enough job. I mean, it zoomed in a lot. And you'll see when we select it, it does a pretty decent job of selecting it. And if it doesn't, you can always click, set those anchor points. And it'll try to, it'll try to do, you'll do a better selection of it. So watch, I'm going to deselect this. So now I'll start at the bottom, or start wherever. And I'm just gonna see, like sometimes I will have to set that anchor point just because it doesn't quite do the nice job that I wanted to do. But again, no big deal, because I can just click once or twice or whatever, many times. So it's usually a faster way of selecting something, depending on the intricacy of what you're trying to select. And some of those other techniques might have not worked because we don't have enough of a contrast in the background. There's too much shades of it, especially here. Like there's a lot of different shades going on, so like the magic wand tool wouldn't really work that well, and the objects are close to each other, so it's hard to create that rectangle, and so on. So you have to take all those things in consideration in deciding which method you're going to use. So as you can see now, I have it selected. Once you have it selected, make sure you go back to the starting point. And when you go back to the starting point, you'll see a little circle, and that indicates to you that you've reached the starting point and it's about to close it. So that's what you want. And then you left mouse click. All right, so once you have it selected, click and drag it, zoom out, and then put in this case, we're moving it to the middle right there. And as you can see, it does a decent enough background, especially since the background is black, because there was some black to it and so on, and it's good enough for now. Okay. All right, so now we're going to do the pen at the bottom. So let's zoom in on the pen. So this is going to be a little interesting, so pay attention first. What we're going to do is we're going to use a combination of the Lasso Tool and the Polygon Lasso Tool. So let me just show you real quick what how you use the Polygon Lasso Tool. So I'm going to click. The Polygon Lasso Tool, you have to click and then drag. Click and drag to set the anchor points. You don't see the anchor points, but it kind of works the same way as the magnetic lasso tool. If I put an anchor point I don't want, I can just press delete and go back. So again, notice that's my selection, for instance, right? But it's all straight line segments. There's no curves at all. So this is the Polygon Lasso Tool, right? Polygon Lasso Tool. So it's all straight line segments. Straight line segments and anchor points. So notice again, one more time, if I want to go back up, I can just press delete and see how I'm going back up to where I started. I'll press delete and I can undo that. You can't see it, but there's an anchor point right about there. See? So that's the Polygon Lasso Tool, right? Then we have the Lasso Tool, and you've seen how use this one, it's more free flowing, and you can do your selection and so on. And you can have curves and things like that. Okay. Well, we're gonna use a combination of both those tools to select this pen. And we're gonna go back and forth between them. And here's how we could do it. So watch real quick. I'm not gonna do the pen yet. But say that, guys in the back, can you guys keep it down a little bit, please? Thanks. So what I'm gonna do is, for instance, I'm gonna click and make a curve right here, for instance. Right, here's the curve. Then from here, though, I want to go and do a straight line segment, which is kind of basically what we're going to do here with the pen. So instead of just trying to make a straight line segment like this, right? So again, I have the curve, and instead of trying to do the line segment with the lasso tool, I'll just hold on the Option key, let go of my left. I'm holding down just the Option key, let go of the left mouse key. Then I click and drag. And I'm not holding down anything. So I click and drag and click. Hit select an anchor point. There's my anchor point right there. So then maybe I'll put another anchor point here, there, here. Now say that I want to continue with another curve, right? So at this point, I let go of my, oops, shoot, screwed up. Let me do that again. Again, a curve. Then what I'm doing is actually I'm going to continue holding on the Option key, and then I'm going to drag, and it becomes the lasso tool. Then I can do a curve if I want to, curve here, whatever type thing. And I'm not holding down the Option key. Then I'll go back, hold on the Option key, click and drag, and then I have my different points or whatever.
So the Option key is what changes it to the lasso.
Exactly. And then watch, when I go back to the lasso tool, I'll click and drag. See, notice it. Then I let go of the Option key, and then I can go ahead and do whatever curves I want. All right, so let's practice on the pen. And I'm going to start. Say I'll start at about the center of the pen right here, where there's a curve, with the lasso tool.
Did you hold the Option key down the whole time that you were going back and forth? You mean when you went back and forth?
I would start and then let go, start and let go. So, for instance, I'm going to start with the lasso tool, where there's a curve right here on the pen. So I'm going to click and drag, make the curve.
How do you make your pen just a little bit bigger? Because when I hit that Command plus, it goes too big for the screen.
Hold on the spacebar Command key to zoom in on it. And then click on the pen tool, and it'll zoom in on that spot.
See, it makes it too big for the Workspace.
Okay, so everybody's got their lasso tool. Start at the left end of the pen. Start making that curve. Then when you get to the straight line segment, or the straight segment right there, hold on the Option key, let go of the left mouse. I'm going to click and drag. Notice here's I'm clicking and dragging it to the end right there, right about right there where there's a little curve. Then I'm going to click and drag, and it becomes a lasso. So I click and drag, let go of the Alt key, make that curve down. I'm going to hold on the Option key again, and then I'm going to click and drag while I'm holding down the Option key. Set some anchor points there. Click and drag. I'm going to drag again. By the way, you can hold on the Option key the whole time if you want to, and that works well too. I would suggest hold on the Option key the whole time. Because even if you click and drag and you hold down the Option key, you make the curve, and then you accidentally let go of the left mouse key, you'll still be back to one of the tools or the other. So yeah, I would suggest hold on the Option key the whole time.
This is, drawing these freehand, I mean, trying to draw this is like much harder.
Well, you remember, you're just drawing the little curves here. Wherever you need the curves, then just go ahead and do the freehand.
Okay, when I just started with the curve and I let go of the left mouse, it like made a wine saucer by itself. Am I supposed to be holding down the Option key the whole time?
Yeah, hold on the Option key the whole time. It'll make it easier for you. Instead of trying to not hold it down.
I don't get this.
Well, you'll get a chance to practice. Believe me, with the flowers, you definitely.
I'm not getting the concept of polygon and lasso.
Well, the concept is this: the lasso tool is more like freehand, as you mentioned, and then the polygons are straight line segments.
So I know. So once I make my curve, then how do I get it to the polygon?
Then hold on the Option key,
I'm holding it down.
and then let go of the left mouse key.
Well, now I got a triangle.
Right, because it went back to the beginning of
I
it.
didn't. It went back to. I'm not doing anything. I let go of the left mouse like you told me to, and I got a triangle.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to work with you on that. I'm going to move on so we can get this done, and then I'll work with you specifically on that. So leave that file open, and we'll come back to that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, and I'm going to use my again my move tool. I'm going to move the pen in position. Then I'm going to use my free transform tool once again to rotate the pen. So I'm going to go to Edit, Free Transform, or Command T. Rotate my pen. Put it into position. Let me see how this one looks. Yeah. Oops. So I'm going to rotate my pen. Now, then once I get in position, I deselect everything. So here's the thing. So and again, I'll go back and work with some of you guys on this, because I know it's a little hard with working with between the polygon and the lasso tool. So now that I have this image, composed like I wanted to, then I have all this leftover that I don't need, right? That I cut out and all that kind of stuff. Guys, in the back, please keep it quiet. Thanks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my crop tool. So I'm going to click and drag using my crop tool to crop out everything I don't want. So as you'll notice now, when I use my cropping tool, which is this tool right here, looks like a pound sign. And then again, I click and drag, and then obviously whatever's in the gray area is going to be gone, and whatever's in the white area will stay. Once I have it cropped to the way I want, I'm just going to hit return, and there you go. And that's what you do a lot of times. One of the most used tool I think is a crop tool to crop out a lot of things, and definitely you see how easy that is to be able to use that. And then you have your file. Okay? Now, if you notice, as I mentioned before, if you notice that in my layers palette over here, there was only one background. And we did everything within that one background. And once we moved something, we couldn't move it again because it's all in one layer. So ideally what we would have done is selected it and then copy it and paste it, and when we copy and paste it will create another, it will create a separate layer. And then this way, if we needed to go back and move that 5 or pen tool or whatever, we could have done that. So ideally, that would be one way to go. But I also want to show you within this next lesson is in terms of, it's more of like a layers type lesson, because when you download images and you start bringing in images into a Photoshop file, you're going to automatically have layers created for you. So it's not like in this case we would have copy and paste layers, but you're going to automatically have layers created for you. And then so you got to know how to deal with layers. So that's what we're going to do next, so you can get this assignment done. All right, so you can, by the way, leave this file open for those of you guys that have problems with it, so I can go back with you and work with you on that. And so let's go ahead and back to Photoshop, or not Photoshop. Let's go back to your lessons folder. That's not what I want. So here's what we're going to do. In Photoshop, let's create a new file. So we've opened up already a pre-made file. So obviously, you know that's easy enough. But what do you do when you open up a new file? You know, what size should you make it and all that kind of stuff. Let's look into that. So we're going to go to File, New, okay. And obviously, the first thing that comes up is, what do you want to name it? We're going to give it a name. So let's see. I'm going to do right now. We'll do a beach collage. Okay, so whatever. So we'll just name it beach, and we'll download a bunch of beach stuff, and we'll just play with that. Now, usually the default is 7 by 5 inches, and as usual, we can change it from inches to pixels if we want to. If it's pixels, you might want to change it to inches. Whatever way you're comfortable working with in terms of units, whether it's inches or pixels, is up to you. Now, if you're going to publish this on the internet, which, by the way, the idea is for your final project, you're going to do a website, so you're going to probably put this on the internet. So the ideal resolution for something that you're going to put on the internet is 72 pixels per inch. Okay. For print, it's usually 300 pixels per inch. If you're going to print something, start with a file at 300 pixels per inch. So we're just going to leave it at 72, which, as you notice, is the default. And the color mode for when you're going to put something on the internet is going to be RGB. For print, as we discussed this in Illustrator, is CMYK. Cyan, magenta, yellow, black. RGB, red, green, blue. Right? Again, since we're focusing on doing this for the internet, we'll go ahead and leave it at RGB. The other thing you need to consider is your background content. Do you want it to be white? Do you want it to be the background color? The background color is referring to the color in your palette right here. So my palette, if you'll notice down at the bottom over here, right here, my color picker, you notice is the foreground is black, and this is considered the foreground, the top square, and then the white square right here is my background. So if I choose background color, it's going to be white also, because that's the background color right there. If it was blue, yellow, or green, it would make the background blue, yellow, or green, whatever it is, what color. Or I can choose transparent. And we'll choose transparent just so that you understand the different, obviously white is going to be a white background. But I want you to understand what a transparent background looks like, which is a checkered background. So let's choose transparent. And then we'll click OK. And then notice that my background is checkered, which means that that background is transparent, which also means that whenever I put this image in a different color background, it will take on that background color. So whatever color background I have for my web page, whether it's blue or yellow or something, and I have an image right there, you know, and the image, like say is of a person, and notice it's a rectangle, obviously the space around the person will be transparent. When I bring it into my website, and if my website is a color yellow, whatever is around the person in the transparent background will become yellow. But you have to save it out correctly. You either have to save it out as a PNG file, PNG, or as a GIF file. So one of those two has to be, you have to save it so that it preserves this transparency. If you save it as a JPEG, it'll become white or whatever the background color is. Okay, and we'll get into. I'm going to say this and I'm going to repeat this several times, so you guys hopefully it'll sink in. And but we won't necessarily do it with this particular file. We'll do it with the next, not this particular lesson, but the next lesson coming up. All right, so I've created my image right here. I'm going to go ahead and make it so that it fits my my work area here. So what I did is I zoomed in a little bit. So now I have my work area. So now let's go on the internet and download a bunch of images from the beach. Okay.
How did you increase the stage?
Same way as I've been doing. You know, Command 0 or Command plus or minus. One of those ways.
Okay, so it just stays this little. So it's just automatically that little.
No, it won't. Okay, so watch this. See my hand tool over here?
Yeah.
Okay, if I double click the hand tool, it does the same thing as if I would have done Command 0. Now, see, notice up here when I do the hand tool, on the option bar it says actual pixels, fit screen, fill screen, or print size.
Right.
For instance, I'll click on actual pixels. That's the actual pixel size that would be published.
Okay.
You see? If I fit screen, that's just so I can, for my viewing pleasure or whatever, right? Fill screen, I'll fill in whatever space I have there. Print size. If I click print size, it'll go back to whatever print size I had originally set it at, which was 7 by 5 inches. You see? So that's one way to kind of figure out. I'm only zooming in only, just so that you guys can see well, and I can see well too. Okay, so let's go into the internet. Open up Internet Explorer. I'm sorry, Firefox. And then let's look for beach. Just type in beach. And then let's go to images, because you're going to kind of be doing the same thing as you did before. And there's a bunch of images there, right? So I'll start with, for instance, just start with whatever image. So here's the thing. Just so you know, don't download the thumbnail. And I've seen this before. People download the thumbnail, and then they wonder why it's so pixelated. It's because you're downloading the thumbnail. So click on the image that you want. Wait till it pops up like this. Right mouse click or control click. Save, and then go down, and then you get the menu, and you're going to select Save Image As. And then in this case, I'm just going to put it in my desktop for now, because I don't care about if I lose this image or whatever. And it'll be named whatever. And you'll notice that it has the extension of .jpg. So JPEG. So I went ahead and save that on the desktop. Then I'll go ahead download another, let's say, I'll do that horse on the beach. Save that image. Go back. I'm going to put people on the beach. People on beach. Let's see what we get. All right, there's a bunch of people. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Save image as. So I'm going to save like 4 images just so that, for practice purposes. So I got 4 images here, save image as, and I'm going to save it on, again, on my desktop. So again, download people on the beach or just the beach, whatever type image, and then we'll start. So the idea here is, in this case, we want the beach to be our main background, and then we're gonna put these people that are on these different images. We're gonna put them into the main
Do you want us to select the same people?
No, it doesn't matter. We're just gonna do quick selections, and you guys will get to practice doing the flower or type of scenario you're going to do.
You said 4 pictures.
Yeah, just 4. Again, I just want to show you about layering. The focus for this lesson is more about layering than about selection. We've already practiced the selection part of it. So I don't want to focus on selecting and spending time doing that. I just want to do the layering part of it. And creating a new file. I wanted to show you how do you create a new file. Does everybody have 4 images, at least? Yes? Okay. So now we're going to, here's the thing, in Photoshop, you can't really import images, okay? But we can certainly get them into, we can certainly get them into another image. And to do that, what we do is we open up the images we want, and actually we just click and drag. So for instance, I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to click Open. And I'm going to go down to Desktop, where my images are. And I'm going to select the multiple images. And remember, you can hold on the Shift key to select, if 1 or 2 images are right next to each other. But if you need to skip between files, if you're on a PC, you're going to hold down the Alt key. On the Mac, you're going to hold down the Command key, and then I can click and skip between files if I need to. The point is, I'm going to open up those 4 images. So File, Open. Look for your images, and then click Open. Actually, this is not a good one. I'll just do 3 images for now.
Hold on your control key. Oh no, hold on your what key?
For what?
Select all of them. How do you
Yeah, select all of them. If they're right next to each other, you can just hold on the Shift key. If you have to skip between, if you have multiple files in your desktop and you need to skip between them, hold on the Command key, and you can skip between files. Okay, so here is the initial image I want to use, right? And we'll pretend that for now that I originally want to start with this image. I mean, I could have started just with this image, open this image, and open the other images into it. But I wanted to show you how to create a new file anyway. So what I can do now is that using my Move tool, I can click and drag into my new file. And this is how I'm going to do it. So here's my beach, my first beach image, right here. So you notice we have it. You see the little tabs on top. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 images open, right? You notice everybody has those little 4 tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Move tool, click and drag. Notice I'm clicking and dragging, but then I'm going to select the tab. Notice, and then the tab where I want to drag it to becomes highlighted, and then once it becomes highlighted, I just let go of the mouse key. That didn't work. What happened? Oh, you have to drag it, and then drag it to the space that's, the image itself, the space that is available there, and you'll drag it in there.
say that again? Use the Move tool.
Okay.
Click on the image.
Yes. So
And then drag it up to,
so here's my image, right? The one I just downloaded. So I'm putting my cursor right somewhere in the image itself. It doesn't matter. I'm going to click and drag, and then notice then I'm going to wait till I hit the tab that I want to go to. In this case, this tab right here, where the file, my new file was created. Notice highlighted. Then I'm going to click and drag to this area right here. You see? Then I let go, and there's my file. It positions itself there, and you may have to move it around to kind of get it so that it fits into my the image that I have there. Now notice, by the way, that this image, and this is important to understand, that this image happens to be larger than my file size. Okay? Everybody see that? Notice when I'm moving this file right here, you'll notice on the board there's a gray border around it. You see that? You see that gray border? That tells me that that file is larger. And obviously I can't see the rest of the file, so obviously that tells me that the file is larger than my file size. So I could do a couple of things. I could make my file size bigger, or I can make the image smaller that I just dragged in. Let me see. I'm going to take over real quick. Which one you want to use? That one?
no, well, then yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so see I put my cursor here,
Yeah, that's what I did.
click and drag, right here, wait till it
That's
has,
what I did, and that's what I got. Oh. Mine didn't show up.
I don't know. I don't know what could have happened. Well, you can practice it.
So, Alfonso,
So did you get the file into, you get the image into the new file?
yeah.
Okay. So now we need to resize it. So most of you have noticed it's bigger, at least depending on, you know, the files you got.
And then give it to the, okay, thanks.
Good. Thanks for helping. The other way that you can do this, by the way, if this technique is not working for you guys, one other way to do this is you'll see right here is, for instance, let's say that I want to take the horse. I'm going to do the horse real quick. So you may not have a horse, you may have something else. I'm going to do the magnetic lasso tool real quickly. Again, I don't care about the selection right now. So I'm going to do this very, very quickly. Okay, so there's my horse, right? And actually, if I want to do this correctly, I would, you know, in between the legs, and all that kind of stuff, I would do all those type of selection. But again, this is not the selection lesson, so we're not gonna. Now, here's my image. I want the horse. I want to put the horse in this particular. Oops. I want to put this horse in this image right here, right? Well, first of all, I need to fix this image so that I can fit my horse in there, and also so I can resize this image. I know it's a different size. So if you'll notice, in my layer palette, when I drag the new image in there, it created, or the image that I downloaded, it created a new layer. Okay, so that's the first thing you should notice, is you've got a new layer. So now I'm going to resize that. Well, I'm going to use the same tool that I used before, which is my transform tool. So edit, transform, or command T. And notice I can see the bounding box all the way down at the bottom and so on. So I'm going to hold on the shift key, resize it, and then keep moving it into place until I get it to the size I want it to be.
Hold down the shift key.
Well, yeah, you may want to hold on the shift key, depending on if you want to. See, I'm going to stretch it out. So this time I'm not going to hold on the shift key. I'm going to purposely stretch it out more than it should I'm not going to keep it proportionate. I don't care at this point. But I got it to the size of my file. And that's what I was looking for. So
Mine's not getting any smaller. It's just moving it around.
Grab the corner.
here's the other way, by the way. Let me undo this real quick. For those of you who are having trouble grabbing the corner.
It's just moving.
All right, watch over here. Let go. Just press escape. Press escape. Now this can happen to you where you try to you have a file, right? You have a certain file size, brand new file size you're starting with. You drag in an image that could be 10 times bigger. And so grabbing the corner, as you notice, here's my corner here. Here's easy for me to grab. But say this again, if it was 10 times bigger, the corner would be way down here. Notice that corner is like way up there. So I can't really grab the corners, right? What you can do is on your option bar on the top, you'll change the width and the height by a percentage. And then you can start from there. So I'll make sure that this link on the option bar, I'm going to make sure that the link is not broken, or it is turned on. So I'm just gonna, for now, I'm going to keep the aspect ratio the same. So it keeps it proportional. And I'm going to change that 100% to 50%. Just type in 50. Notice when I do that, voila, it's about the size where now I can grab the corners. Using remember, transform tool, Command T, or edit transform, and then you'll get that option on the top. So now I'll hit return, and then I can click and drag to about the size that I want this file to be. So if that doesn't work, again, in this case, this file needs to be stretched out a little bit more. No big deal, right? In terms of getting the file to fit. So try that technique. Just select the file. If, using edit transform, and then the option bar, go to the top where it says 100%, change that to 50%, 75%, whatever you think you need to do by shrinking it down. In this case, I probably 75% would have been enough so that I could have been able to grab the handle or the corner and then resize it. And I'm going to hit return. There you go. Now, let's go back to, I'm going to go back to my horse picture. Yours maybe is something else that you got there.
What if you don't have, how do we get those tools on top if we don't have?
This right here?
Uh-huh.
It's your option bar for your whatever tools that you currently select.
Okay.
So it depends on the tool that you have selected. You see it? Okay. Okay, so again, select the horse, select the people, select whatever you have, and do a quick selection. We're not going to spend a lot of time on the selection thing. You're going to have plenty of practice for that. So you're going to make your selection. Now, if for those of you who have problems moving the image, like the idea here now is for me to move this horse selection into my new image. The way I would do it is click and drag it, wait till this highlights, move the image into place, and then then I have my horse on the beach, on my new beach. But the other way you could do this is you can click and drag and separate. You can separate the files so that they're not in tab format. And then I can also do the same thing as before. The idea is you're going to click and drag. Once you made a selection in one file, you're going to click and drag it into the next file. You see? So now I'm going to click and drag this way, and now I have it in my new file. So you notice I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm dragging into my new file, this file right here. And notice the horse appears there. And now I have 3 layers. I have the beach, the transparent layer, the beach, and my horse. Now, here's the nice thing about this is sort of like it gets back to your your question about the 5 when you wanted to move it. Now that I have the horse in its own layer and the beach in its own layer, I can go to that layer and just do whatever I want to that layer. In this case, let's say I just want to resize it. I don't have to select it because it's in its own layer. All I do is to go to Edit, Transform, or Command T, and then in this case, resize it. So I'm going to resize using again this right here. I'm just going to change it to 75%, and then I'm going to. Sorry, what was that?
How would you do a quick select of the horse?
Well, I use the magnetic lasso tool. Why don't you just do this for now? Just do a quick circle around it.
Okay.
Okay, just do for now. Just again, just do that. So then I move my horse into place. Now again, obviously this would be not the ideal way to select it. I would take more time to make sure that I get rid of the water that's from the other beach and so on and so on, clean the tail up and all that other kind of stuff. But for now, we're just doing this quickly. All right, so now let's practice some more. Just going to get the people on the beach, and this time I'm just going to do a quick, I'll do a quick selection with the lasso tool. So I'm just going to do. There's my quick selection, right? Then I'm going to use my move tool again. Now I can take the photos off the tabs, or the image off the tab, so I can move it into the next image, or using my move tool, click and drag. Here I'm going to put them in here. And notice this, it's like really huge, right, compared to my background. So no big deal. We know what to do here. We're going to go and transform the size. I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Command T, change it from 100%. I'm going to go up there to say 75%. That's a good size. Now I can grab at the handles and hold on the Shift key. There are the people walking on the beach. Okay. And again, if you notice, we have now 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. And then the layers are going to, when you're working on your project, you're going to have like maybe 30 layers. And so on. So let's look at this real quick. Again, I just wanted to create a bunch of layers so you guys understand in terms of layering. The topmost layer is sort of like when we work in Flash. The topmost layer is going to be, say this is my Z-axis, is going to be further out. The bottommost layer is going to be the background layer, the one all the way in the back. So for instance, watch this real quick. Here's my bottommost layer, I'm going to fill it in with a certain color. Use my paint bucket tool. I'm going to fill it in with black. Now notice in the bottom it's filled in with black. Notice when I move it all the way to the top, it hides everything because it's the topmost layer, right? I'm going to move it back down to all the way down to the bottom. And notice how I can move my layers around. See? See, as I'm moving it down, this top layer is being exposed. Move this next layer down, the next layer is being exposed. And then all the way down. And obviously we don't see the black because the beach image takes up the whole space in terms of the size of my file. But notice as I moved it down, because these were smaller, then I can still see part of it in the background until I go all the way to the bottom. Now, obviously, I don't need this layer, so I would delete that layer. So I don't need this layer at all because it's not showing that anywhere. I don't really need it, right? To delete a layer, you're going to select the layer, and then you're going to click on that little trash can. And that's how you can delete a layer. And you saw already how I can move layers around. You can rename layers by double-clicking on the name right where it says layer 4. So I'm going to name that people. This one, horse. So I can name the layers if I wanted to. I can create a new layer without, if I know I'm going to paint something or draw something in that layer that I'm not going to bring any image in, I can create a new layer, which is this icon you guys should be familiar with that we used before in Flash, for instance, or in Illustrator when we create layers. So here's my little trash can. There's my little icon to create a new layer. And notice we get a new layer, layer 3. There's nothing in there. So I'm just going to delete that. And we can turn on and off the layers as before by clicking on the little eye. So there's my people down there. They're gone. There's my horse gone. Here's my background gone. I mean, it's not gone, but I just turned it off, right? But also, one of the important things here to understand about layers is that, especially in Photoshop, this occurs more in Photoshop than I think, like, say, Flash or even Illustrator so much, that you need to be in that layer to be able to affect that particular image. I've seen a lot of times people, for instance, say you want to move the horse to this side, right? You want to move it to the other side. But what happens a lot of times is that maybe people are in the background layer. They'll go to the move tool. They'll try to grab the horse, and hey, what happened? I moved the wrong image. Or they're in the people image. They're thinking, okay, I'll just move the horse to this side. Oops, I'm moving the people. So again, look to see what layer you're on. If you're trying to select it, if you're trying to move it, if you're trying to do whatever to it, make sure you're in that layer. So again, if I want to be if I want to move the horse, I got to be in the horse layer. I'm gonna click and drag it to where where I want it to be. And then you're going to save it. Once you're done with your project, then you're going to save it as a Photoshop file. So I'm going to go to File and just go ahead and click Save. When you do that, it'll come up as a PSD file. And that's what I want from you guys. When you guys upload your project, I want it to be a PSD file, not a JPEG, not a GIF, not not anything else like that. I want to be able to see all your layers. Okay? I want to be able to see all your layers. So you're going to save it as a Photoshop file. So it needs to have the extension as a PSD. If you have it as a JPEG, I'm just going to give you a 0. Or maybe a 1.